Also here with me right now, Sabrina Schaefer, co-author of Liberty is No War on Women and executive director of the Independent Women's Forum. You know, Sabrina, things like balance our budget, fix our tax code, these things that John Boehner mentioned, these things are kind of hard. In some ways, did we hear more of a political message more than anything else, more of the same old class warfare that we can expect to hear on the campaign trail last night?
Yeah, I think there was so much that was repeated that people felt that they'd heard over and over and over again over the past 6 years. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. One thing that was sort of interesting is that the president didn't even seem to acknowledge the one thing that has changed, which was the political shift, and that, you know, he was speaking to a majority Republican Congress now, and that a lot of these ideas are going to fall flat, especially when it comes to women.
You know, I talk about this sort of division that you're seeing, this class warfare issue, and, you know, he talked about taxing wealthier Americans. When we get into specifics there, he's talking about raising capital gains to 28%. You know, I think history shows, and a lot of the math and data shows, that it's very hard to tax your way into a better economy. And if you're going to have people putting money at risk, right, putting money into the markets, into the capital markets, they better hope that they make a bigger, better return because the government's going to be taking a bigger percentage of it.
Right, absolutely, and I think we've shown that actually you simply can't tax your way out of debt. Isn't that correct? And I think one of the biggest flaws with this president actually is that he has sort of built his administration around pitting people against one another. For the president, it is easy game. While, you know, from my perspective, I like to grow the pie for everybody. We want to make sure that Wall Street is growing, but that Main Street is growing as well. And I don't think it has to be an either-or situation.
What does this mean for sort of small businesses, some of the proposals that he's advanced? How do you think it affects people that are running, you know, the local restaurant or the dry cleaners down the street?
It's really concerning. The one that's sort of on my mind is this Healthy Families Act, which the president talked about last night, which is another way that people could accrue paid leave time. Now, one of the things that I think the president does so skillfully is to make a much bigger issue out of things that often aren't as big a problem. So when it comes to women and small businesses, we're talking about the issue of paid leave or child care or the wage gap. Paid leave is actually something that the majority of full-time working employees have, and that even a fifth of part-time working employees already have. So it's not the dire situation that the president has presented it as, but it will be a dire situation for those small businesses, for the small hardware store, the dry cleaner, because the reason they're not providing those so-called benefits is because they simply can't afford to, and when the government makes them to.
And that's where it gets tricky, because are you really going to legislate that people, you're going to say, okay, we've got a federal law that everybody deserves, you know, umpty-dump 6 days a year. I think to your point, a lot of these small businesses absolutely would, because let's not forget, Sabrina, everybody wants the best talent out there, right? You want to acquire the best talent, and part of doing that is offering the best reward package, whether that be in the way of vacation, whether that be in the way of family leave, whether that be in the way of better maternity leave benefits. But to legislate it is something entirely different.
Right, and those one-size-fits-all packages really fail those people who are lower skilled and lower on the economic pay scale, because businesses are going to do two things. They're going to consolidate jobs, and they're going to cut wages if they have to provide this. I think what we want to make sure is that everyone has different needs. Like you, I have 3 little children at home. I definitely need some leave time. But, you know, 10 years ago, when I was single and younger, you know, I may have said, hey, I'm happy to work for a higher salary and less leave time. That's something that I would have decided then. We want to make sure that individuals and businesses can come to those decisions on their own like grown-ups.
Do you think in any way, and kind of going out on a limb here, and this is maybe a provocative thing to say, but in any way, does it actually hurt some women? I mean, you look at, I'll give you an anecdote, Italy, for example, that has a lot of leave time that they offer women, and I've had women say to me, you know, it's challenging because on the one hand, your employer looks at you as a woman who's of childbearing age and says, oh, you're married, you don't have any kids yet, and is concerned that you're going to be taking that 9 months or whatever it is that the government then provides. So in some ways, you know, I think the law of economics is, you know, when you get too involved from a federal level, it starts to distort incentives and has unintended consequences. We all want the best. Doesn't always work that way.
Right, no, I couldn't have said it better. The fact is, in Europe, this is a very big problem, that the benefits are so tempting that women actually leave the workplace altogether, and then they're in the position of imposing, that we need to have quotas on corporate boards to make up for it, and then they're trying to get younger women, and their businesses are doing poorly. So there's just so many different factors that go into this. That's why we really want to get business out of the business of micromanaging corporations and smaller businesses and let women and businesses come to agreements that work for them. Again, I think that most businesses want to attract and retain women because women are so valuable to the workplace.
Absolutely.
But government has a way of really messing things up.
Yeah, no, you want that diversity for sure. Sabrina Schaefer, thank you so much for continued reaction to last night's State of the Union. Tune in.